everyone, and welcome to this week's episode of the NatureCity podcast. I'm your host, Carl Perdelli. I'm also the CEO and co-founder of the company, having started NatureCity over 20 years ago with my wife, Beth, and since then it's been our honor to have served over 500,000 Americans by offering them the best supplements we can make. One of the best supplement ingredients to help your hair look its best is solubilized keratin protein, such as the Cynatine HNS keratin we feature in our TrueHNS supplement. In addition to hair, Cynatine HNS helps support the look of nails and skin, which is where the HNS name comes from, hair, nails, and skin. Recently, we had a customer contact us and say, my dermatologist recommended I take a product like this for my hair, and I tried your HNS, your TrueHNS, for the last month, and it seems like a good product, but it's not making a difference. She said, my hair still breaks too easily, and I don't think less hair is falling out, and she wanted to stop the product. Now, the key to what this customer said is she's only been using it for a month. We explained and showed her data, which we're going to show to you today, from research with Cynatine HNS that illustrates why 30 days is too soon to give up. And if you give TrueHNS 2 or better yet 3 months, it's very likely you'll be rewarded. So I thought this may be a question that many others have also, which is how long does it take Cynatine HNS keratin protein to work? So that's what we're going to review today. Whenever I get questions like this, I find the best way to answer it is to go back to the findings of the research with the relevant ingredient. So that's what I'm going to do. As I mentioned, Cynatine HNS is a solubilized protein. I'm not going to rehash in this episode why we prefer solubilized keratin over other keratin options, but if you're interested, I covered this topic in episode 51. In short, we believe the solubilized keratin in Cynatine HNS can be digested with the keratin molecule intact and bioactive, allowing it to work better for you. To get ready for today's episode, I pulled data from 2 studies with Cynatine HNS. The first involved 50 women between the ages of 40 and 70, and the second study involved 100 women and men. It was almost 50-50 between men and women. So we'll really focus on that latest study, more recent study, because actually the results between the 2 studies were fairly similar, which is good, especially after 90 days. So again, we're just going to talk mostly today about the larger study, which involved 100 men and women. And for the sake of time, I'm just going to focus on the results with hair, although there are also impressive findings for skin and nails too. If you want me to follow up with another episode on the skin and nail results, we'll do that for you. Now, one of the key benefits of Cynatine HNS for hair is helping to reduce the normal hair loss like you see after washing or brushing your hair. To evaluate this, the researchers used something called the hair pull test. Here's how it works. First, participants are instructed not to wash their hair for 3 days before the test to reduce the number of weakened hairs a person may lose. Then a trained professional grabs about 60 hairs at a time and gently pulls on them, or as gently as someone could pull on someone else's hair, to see how many hairs are extracted. This test is repeated 3 times on different parts of the scalp. So at the start of the study, those in the Cynatine HNS group and the placebo group each had about 13 hairs on average that were removed. I think for the placebo group it was actually 13.0, and for Cynatine HNS group it was about 12.9. So essentially both at 13. So so you understand what I'm talking about, if the clinicians pulled on 60 hairs in 3 different locations, so it's about 180 hairs in total, 60 times 3, about 13 on average were extracted from the 2 groups. Now, they repeated this test 3 more times during the study, after 1 month of taking the supplement, after 2 months, and at the end of the study, which was after 3 months of taking the supplement or the placebo. That is really important because it helps us see the progression of benefits at each point. After 1 month, those taking Cynatine HNS improved by about 25% on average. So the hairs removed dropped from about 12.9 to 9.8 on average, a very nice start. But here's what's also important. Not everyone responded just 1 month after taking Cynatine HNS. The researchers report to find a responder is someone who showed an improvement of at least 20% over where they started. Only 64% of the men and women cleared this mark in the first month. So that means 36% hadn't responded yet. This changed significantly in the second month. By the end of month 2, 96% had responded positively in the hair pull test and improved by at least 20% from where they started. So it went from 64% after the first month to 96%, or nearly everyone, after month 2. If the folks who hadn't seen significant results after 1 month had given up, they would have missed out on the improvement they saw after 2 months. That's why you have to give TrueHNS time to work. On average, after month 2, those taking Cynatine HNS had reduced their hair loss by about 44% using the hair pull test. And there was further improvement after month 3. At this point, every person who had taken Cynatine HNS for 90 days had responded and had a greater than 20% improvement on the hair pull test based on where they started. 100% everyone who was taking the Cynatine HNS. You'll recall we said at the beginning of the study, the Cynatine HNS group lost 12.9 hairs on average in the initial hair pull test. Those taking 500 milligrams of Cynatine HNS daily for 90 days declined to just 6.9 hairs. So they went from 12.9 hairs lost to 6.9 hairs lost in the same test after 3 months, which is a big 46% improvement. Very impressive. But this is about a 3 times better improvement than those who were in the placebo group. It's very important in these studies to have a placebo group to compare to, and the Cynatine HNS group improved by about 3 times relative to the placebo group. So by sticking with Cynatine HNS, this shows that your patients will be rewarded with stronger and healthier looking hair. And this wasn't the only test that the researchers performed. They also looked at the percentage of hairs in the anagen phase, which is the hair growth phase, versus the telogen phase, which is basically the resting phase at the end of the hair's life cycle. So the anagen phase is generally lasts about 3 to 5 years. That's when you're growing healthy, strong hair. The telogen phase is the end of life, the last 3 or 4 months of the hair's life cycle. At the end of the telogen phase, at the end of about 3 or 4 months, the hair will typically fall out. Supplement ingredients for hair health often measure the percentage of hairs in the desired anagen phase compared to the telogen phase to see if the nutrient can have a positive effect on the ratio between the two. And sure enough, those taking Cynatine HNS experienced a marked improvement over 90 days, with the positive effect being 4 to 5 times better than those taking the placebo. And this probably really explains why and corroborates the hair pull test results we just went through, right? If you have more hairs that are essentially extending their healthy life cycle in the anagen phase, then you're probably going to reduce the number of hairs that are falling out because they're not yet in that telogen phase. The researchers also measured hair strength. To do this, they use a device, I think it's called a dynamometer, which basically measures the amount of force it takes to break a hair. Again, those taking Cynatine HNS record much greater improvements after 90 days compared to the placebo group, indicating better structural strength of the hair, which should result in less hair breakage. Finally, trained clinicians evaluate the brightness and shine of hair. Those taking Cynatine HNS start to experience a significant improvement after 30 days, with the results continuing to improve in brightness and shine till the end of the 90-day study. Now, hopefully, all this taken together helps explain why you should put TrueHNS to a true test after 90 days. Don't give up too early. You may be fortunate and see a noticeable difference in 30 days, but don't give up if you don't respond quickly. Results do vary, as will the time it takes to get those results. Stick with it, and I think your commitment and investment in your hair, nails, and skins will be rewarding. In addition to Cynatine HNS, our TrueHNS product also includes plant-based biotin and silica from bamboo shoots for added support for your hair, nails, and skin. You can find TrueHNS at NatureCity.com. Of course, as always, if you have any questions, please reach out to us. That's it for this week's episode. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel to see future episodes, or you can listen to us on your favorite streaming service such as Apple Podcasts or Spotify. This is Carl Pradelli, and I'll see you next week.